Welcome to the Author Spotlight Show. Today, we shine a spotlight on a remarkable woman whose story and insights fill the pages of the #1 best-selling book, Voices of the 21st Century: Wise Women Bringing Light to the World. The cover of this book features the lotus flower, representing the light and transformation this flower brings. The lotus flower blooms in darkness, a testament to its resilience and growth. Hi, my name is Gail Watson. I'm founder and CEO of Women Speakers Association, and today we have the privilege of introducing an extraordinary woman, a visionary whose words not only leap off the page, but also dive deep into the heart of empowerment, resilience, and hope. Her journey is a testament to the strength found in the vulnerability, the power of overcoming, and the beauty of rising anew, much like the lotus itself. So join us as we explore her unique contributions to the world, uncovering the wisdom she shares and the light she brings into our lives. Please welcome to the show international best-selling author Victoria Bennett.
Thank you very much, Gail.
Super excited to have you here. And once people learn what you do for the world, they're going to want to really listen in here. So we talk about, you share a story about raising voices and raising capital, how those two go hand in hand. And I'd love to hear from you. What inspired you to share this story?
Well, raising voices and raising capital, you might think, well, what's that all about? And it sort of stems back to, it's now, I think when I wrote it, it was 11 years ago. And I think now it's 12 years ago since we've published, when I was on the board of the Calgary Boys Choir. And they asked me to run a crowdfunding campaign for them. I hadn't got a clue what crowdfunding was. And I don't want to spoil it, read the book. But basically, from not knowing what it was to running my first successful campaign to actually setting up a business to support other people to crowdfund. And, it's just, once I understood what crowdfunding was, I realized, what an immense opportunity it is. Crowdfunding, which is sort of raising large amounts of money from small amounts of money, from lots of people, so from your community, from people around you, and there's lots of different types. We know of the sort of donations types that people have seen, like GoFundMe. The place I mainly play in is really in that equity crowdfunding, which is why we talk about capital. And sometimes it just strikes me that people don't consider crowdfunding, and they don't consider crowdfunding for sort of, two sides. One is they don't consider it to raise capital. So, if you've got an amazing product or service, but you don't have friends with deep pockets, family with deep pockets who can help you fund it, the banks aren't always that helpful at this stage either. And so if you can actually get a group of people who really see your product, and I, in this instance, I'm talking about like the Kickstarters and Indiegogos, and then people go, I like that, I want that. And they'll back your campaign. They'll get you enough money, perhaps, to make the first 1,000, because you get the money in advance. You can then go out, you can place the order, and then you tell them, and you tell them sort of like, hey, look, this is it. And, we've got a choice. We can do a red one or a blue one, and sort of get people to choose what they want and take people on the journey with you. They will be the most loyal purchasers, and they will give you great feedback. So they will tell you if that product meets their need, that, obsessions about it, right the way up to, when I say on the investment side, there's a really big, and particularly in Canada, which is where I'm based, not today, but normally, there's a big valley of death of funding, where people can get that small amount, but they can't get that next amount before they get to the VCs. So there's a huge opportunity there for companies that need either growth capital or that next phase capital that crowdfunding can meet. So I see a huge, and that was what was part of my inspiration, was to get that story about the democratization of capital, so that people knew that there was another way that they could get the capital, get their business going. But the other side is also as individuals. So, if we think back to, the garages that were the home of Jeff Bezos, or, Google or all of those, Apple, they all started in a garage somewhere. And there was somebody who was the sort of three or four guys who have the shares from the start, and they're now multi-million, multi-billionaires. And the sad thing is, across the globe, the only people who could invest in startup companies were the wealthiest, in the case of Canada, 3% of the population. So 97% of the population didn't have the opportunity to invest in private companies, which are the ones that they are the highest risk. So the most likely to go broke, so most likely to lose your money, but also the highest growth rate. And we had always been excluded from that. And so by having equity crowdfunding, we now have access to participate in that. And I mean, in Europe, you can invest from 10 euros, from 10 pounds. So you can invest, you can get a share in a company, and it's only a tiny bit, but you're supporting something you believe in. So you get that chance to participate in the early companies. You get that passion for an early company and a founder and somebody you believe in. But you also have the opportunity potentially to lose it all, but also potentially to have some real successes. If you find that unicorn, you can. And I've had a company that I raised funds for that within 6 months, everybody got 10 times their money back. So, it does happen. Rarely, I'll say, but usually it takes quite a bit longer. We usually say 5 to 8 years. And I think that was the thing, is I just wanted to make, there's two sides to this, but one of them was specifically, I wanted to inspire people to consider crowdfunding, either to raise money for their businesses or to raise money or to invest themselves.
I mean, I love what you share. Who doesn't want to know what you do? Your inspiration behind this is phenomenal, to open up those doors, open up those opportunities, open up the mind to go, really, I can do this as well. I don't have to be one of those multi-millionaires to invest in this. So when someone's reading your story, is there something in particular that you'd want them to take away?
Yes, I mean, you've probably already captured what my key one would be, which is please consider crowdfunding. Consider it when you're investing. What I've heard from the official people is you should invest. The professionals. I'm not a professional financial advisor, so just caveat that one. But what I hear is you should have about 10% of your investments in private companies and in about 10 to 15, so diversification. So just consider it. That's all I ask. But I hope there's another message in there, which is a bit more of a sort of carpe diem, so seize the day. We often hear, that women will only apply for a job if they can do 100% of it. Now, if you can only do 100% of it, you're not going to learn anything in it. And they say that men typically apply, and I realize these are mass generalizations, but men typically apply for a job if they can do 30% of it. So, oh, I can do that. Oh, it doesn't matter. I can't do that. They'll still apply. And I think what I'm trying to sort of my key message is, for me, when I was asked to do this crowdfunding, I hadn't got a clue what it was, but I seized it. I seized that day. I went out, I researched, I learnt. From there, I went to the Global Crowdfunding Conference. The first year I went and I attended, I listened. The second year I went and I spoke. And it might have been in those early days in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, and I was that one-eyed man. But I constantly try and learn. And I think that's perhaps the key underlying message is just do it, give it a try. You can be in jobs, we spend at least 8 hours a day in a job. Do something you're passionate about, do something that makes a difference. And in a way, don't worry if you can or can't. Your passion and your ability to study and learn and forge new paths is probably one of the key things that you can do.
You have a great attitude, and you inspire me as I listen to your words, and you make it sound so easy. Now, I know you have supported over 100 crowdfunding campaigns and raised over $20 million Okay, it's safe to say this is what you do.
Yeah.
So if you could please share a little bit more about your business and how crowdfunding, what you are doing with crowdfunding and how you're reaching people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I after running that crowdfunding campaign, as I say, I set up my own business to help companies one-on-one to run their crowdfunding campaigns. And then in recent years, oh, I was going to say it's probably about 4 years ago now, we set up the crowdfunding hub. And the idea behind that is a one-to-many. So what we do is to support anybody who is curious about crowdfunding to find out more. It's not right for everybody. So for me, one of the key things was making sure that people, if it wasn't right, I wanted them to stop there and then. I don't want people spinning their wheels in any way. But if it is right, I wanted to create an environment where they can be supported. And one of my things I do every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time, so 8 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. European time. And sorry for the Antipodeans, I know it doesn't work, I apologize. But I run a thing called Feedback Fridays, and anybody running a campaign who's part of the community can hop on and they can share what they're doing and get feedback. And it's not recorded or anything, it's just a chance for people to give feedback. And I really hope that through that I'm able to support not just the companies we're working directly with, but a wider community, and really make an impact. I mean, that's the key thing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just thinking about how, by helping people fund, you really help them fuel their dream to reality. So I really appreciate that about you. And this is a story that everybody needs to get their hands on. So where can we get a copy of your book?
Yes, so it's available online on our website, so www.thecrowdfundinghub.com. It's also available in selected bookstores in Calgary, which is where I'm based. If you're not in Calgary, sorry, but you can always order it online and we'll get it to you.
That's terrific. I mean, just hearing the numbers that you pull out and what you can do and what you can help with people, definitely we want to make sure we go to www.thecrowdfundinghub.com, get yourself a copy of your book and maybe a couple for some people that you know that are just starting up their business.
And if you're crowdfunding curious, you actually can have a week's free membership. And anybody listening into this, just ping on there and either me or one of my team can even extend that a bit longer. So you can see if crowdfunding is right for you. Come to the Feedback Fridays and see if that's something that will help you. That's all I'm trying to do, is to give people access to capital. And one thing just to say is that, in the VC world, it was up to 7% of money went to women founders. It's gone back down post-COVID, which is really sad. Whereas women and BIPOC actually outperform. So, that's one of the things that I really feel passionate about is, if you typically, because of who you are, have limited access to capital, then really do consider crowdfunding, because, it could open doors that previously had been closed to you.
That's very interesting. Well, I love what you've done with women. You've brought 47 women together from around the world to share their stories. There's something for everybody in this book. So thank you so much. And the title of the book, Voices of the 21st Century, Wise Women Bringing Light to the World. I can't help but be taken by your background of books that are just pages and pages and pages filled with stories and wisdom. So perhaps to conclude our time here together, would you be willing to share some words of wisdom yourself?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I mean, as you say, 47 inspirational women. And that's what I hope people get out of this book, is that they feel inspired, and the diversity of people in this book. It's, I think if this is a book that you need to sort of read a chapter a night, if you can, if you're patient, but to really be inspired, because each story is so different. But you know, from my point of view, you know, the reason I'm here, I'm actually in my parents' home. This is actually the library in their home. And I'm here because my mother died last weekend, very unexpectedly. So, and we've been getting letters of condolence, emails, letters, cards this last week, talking about what an inspirational woman she was. She was very involved politically, and she was a headmistress of a school, but also very involved in education. And there've been pupils who she taught back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, who are remembering how she inspired them. And, you know, I held off giving her my chapter because I wanted her to read it in the book, and she's never read the book. So, you know, my no, what I don't know if it's a word of wisdom, but my ask is, could you read, everybody out there, please read the book for my mother and give us, you know, I'd love to hear what how you feel inspired by it, because you know, I wrote it to try to share a number of different things which I've shared with you today, but you know, I would love if you can read it, you know, for my mother.
That's beautiful, Victoria. And what a beautiful way to concludes. And so sorry for the loss of your mom. And but it's a beautiful setting that you're in. Her love and appreciation for education is evident in that massive library.
Yep.
No wonder she has such a smart, brilliant, and talented woman daughter like you. So, what's your mom's name?
Margaret.
Margaret.
Margaret Mona Williams.
Okay, Margaret. This. So the challenge is out there. Um, go get a copy of Victoria Bennett's #1 best-selling book. Go to www.thecrowdfundinghub.com. Get this book, read it for Margaret, and feel free to send Victoria a note on how her story touched you. Her contact information is in the book. Please reach out to her. I'm sure you'll welcome that.
Thank you.
So Victoria, thank you for not only sharing such great information about, you know, the power of crowdfunding and how it can transform our dreams to a reality, but really sharing your heart today. And I really, really appreciate it. I know this is a tough time for you, so I want to thank you for just being able to show up today. So thank you.
Very welcome. Thank you for inviting me here today, Gail. And yes, it's a story that needs to be told. There are 47 stories that need to be told. And thank you for everything you've done.
100%. Okay, and to our listeners today, I want to thank you for joining us. And wherever you are in this world, we want to wish you a great day. Thank you.